Mopé still waiting in the centre. And it's gone to McAllister! What a strike!
Argentina's answer to Barella, or another Donny van der Beek in the making. Just how good is Alexis McAllister?
It's going to pass on here for Gross. Oh, seizing McAllister.
In terms of XG, McAllister is an undoubted goal threat. His numbers are even superior to that of De Bruyne. But despite having a solid shot accuracy too, his actual goal output is significantly lower. And in fact, this is the first season where he scored more than 10 goals a season. So is this a breakthrough season in which Alexis goes on to now score 10 goals a season every season? Or is it a statistical anomaly? Well, Alexis does have a number of strings to his bow. He can take a direct free kick. He isn't averse to striking off his weak foot. And he's got a good sense of timing and alertness of mind inside the box. Having said all that, I don't see enough of a wow factor in the range of his goals, and that spark which suggests to me that he's going to evolve into a prime De Bruyne type of mid, or even a Lampard, who gets a huge amount of goals from midfield and is a regular match winner. I think 8 to 15 goals a season tops seems to be the limit, but it's still an invaluable asset. In possession, McAllister is not a player who's heavily involved with the running of a midfield in terms of controlling the tempo or acting as a conduit to continuously connect passes. As we saw with Argentina, that job falls to Enzo Fernandez, and at Brighton, McAllister acts as an advanced midfielder who's on the periphery. He doesn't influence the game even from an attacking midfielder's perspective like a Kevin De Bruyne, but what he does is provide a very reliable source of possession. He rarely loses the ball compared to, say, Bruno Fernandes. He's safe rather than spectacular, an accumulator of accurate forward passes and simple retentions of possession, rather than a constant goal-getter who's looking to be the team's de facto game-breaker.
McAllister. Ferguson! Brilliant!
McAllister is not really an assist generator, which is surprising considering how accurate his through pass is. Based on the eye test, he has a solid way of pass, but perhaps his weakness is a reluctance to pull the trigger on the killer passes more. I've likened him to an anti-Bruno Fernandes. He seems to only want to play the through ball when it seems like the most obvious pass to make, and then it can't go wrong. So in that sense, it's quite similar to Iniesta, who struggled statistically, but clearly had a good eye for a killer pass. With such low productivity, McAllister can only really be used as a supplementary creative element in a team and not the primary creative force. It's a shame because we can see that his passing between the lines, his passes into the channels, it all seems to be executed well, and it demonstrates a higher IQ than he's often given credit for.
Team. Solly March gets the better of me.
Gross through to McAllister. Now Solly March picks up.
In terms of McAllister's long passing, he's very luxurious to watch. He's quite measured, he strokes the ball around, even first time long passes, he executes them well, comfortable in the knowledge he's got players like Mitoma, March, who will hold the width and have the quality of touch to bring down whatever he throws at them. Even his vertical passes have a repeatable quality to them. It feels within his comfort zone. Very classy player who reminds you a bit of a budget Toni Kroos in the way that he executes those longer passes. Slight criticism, he doesn't attempt these passes enough, and I feel like he should.
Got an excellent recruitment scheme.
McAllister. Flag stays down for now. McAllister.
Unsurprisingly for an Argentinian, McAllister seems to possess the ball on a string and is very hard to dislodge off it. He's calm, he's composed on the ball, he's got that Kroos-esque ability where despite his lack of pace, he seems to be able to shuffle it away from challenges and retain the ball under pressure. He's got an effortless glide, not quite as explosive as an Iniesta, but there's similarities in the way that he can push past players almost with a whisper and never ever look at risk of losing the ball. The only issue is he's not a pace and power merchant, so he's not going to regularly break games with his dribbling or when the game is going against his side, but he's definitely got that ruggedness to defend the ball against all comers and is a safe haven for the ball.
McAllister through the challenges, slipping away from Decora to take most of the blame. McAllister just flights it towards.
In terms of his crossing, McAllister isn't someone who drifts into the half spaces often and constantly look to get crosses in. Now that's probably partly due to the design of Brighton's system where the wide men, the fullbacks, they're mainly responsible for delivery from wide areas. But when he does have to put a ball in, McAllister isn't that bad. I'd say he looks more dangerous from the left half space because of the sheer range of deliveries he can use from that area of the pitch. He can use the trivela, he can use his weaker foot, or he can check inside and inside bend it to the far post. From the right side, it feels like he's a lot more limited. He can just offer the whipped cross, and it feels rather hit and hope.
McAllister by Konza.
McAllister beaten to it by Klein.
Defensively for a cam, McAllister is pretty solid. He doesn't lose an awful amount of duels. Happy to track back, very tactically disciplined. Helps cover his teammates when they're positionally out of place. So in that sense, very selfless player. But would he be able to carry out the load of a CM or a CDM? I have my doubts, especially if he goes to a bigger side where the demands for defensive excellence are higher than what he's had to endure in a deeper role for Brighton. I think athletically, expecting him to be box to box at a high intensity all game, I don't think it would work. I think the Argentina midfield worked because Rodrigo de Paul was there to do the hard running alongside Enzo. If that was a double pivot between Enzo and McAllister, I think that would have been a disaster. In terms of his heading, McAllister is a fairly decent header of the ball. He is willing to compete most of the time, but he's not particularly dominant. He'll win duels where he looks like the bigger player, but in situations where he has to win the header against the odds, doesn't really impose himself in the air. Again, illustrating why you really wouldn't want him as your central midfield enforcer. In terms of goal threat, again, his heading, it's not really a big weapon. He wins headers which are fairly easy ones to win, but where it's a difficult header to execute, doesn't really offer much of an aerial threat.
Impressed.
Tactically, McAllister has played as a centre mid or an attacking mid under Potter, and now more exclusively as an attacking mid under De Zerbi in Brighton's 4-2-3-1. For Argentina during the World Cup, he was part of Argentina's three-man midfield, which consisted of Enzo as the deep line playmaker, Rodrigo as the box-to-box industrious enforcer, and McAllister more as a left-sided box-to-box midfielder with more attacking licence than De Paul. If we had to summarise McAllister tactically, his ideal play would be getting on the ball just outside the final third, very efficiently moving it on, whether it's a long pass or quick into feet of a forward, and then drifting into the box and looking to sniff a goal-scoring opportunity. He's not an eye-catching main man sort of attacking midfielder. His entire profile is built on deception and going under the radar. What I would say is that he definitely can improve his assist stats, as there's a killer pass in him waiting to be unlocked. What teams would he suit? Well, it's difficult to say. Could he play in the Xhaka role for Arsenal, where his lack of a left foot and the lack of a natural tendency to get wide and cross it would mean he's not a seamless tactical fit. He does, however, fit that mould of an additional playmaker and hybrid midfielder with solid defensive output that Xhaka seems to fit into, more so than an Emile Smith role. So I wouldn't outrule McAllister as an option, but is he a £70 million worth of upgrade? That's questionable. Would he be a success at Liverpool, who he's been heavily linked to? I'm not entirely sure what he even brings to Liverpool. Him and Thiago together in the same midfield would be too tippy-tappy, not enough industry or pitch coverage to work with, unless there was a brand new workhorse to go alongside them. And at United, they already have a superior cam, in my opinion, in Bruno Fernandes. So all Alexis would bring is a Donny van de Beek type of cover and intelligence, but he wouldn't really have that starman energy to really kick that side to the next level. Personally, I think if Alexis wants to push his career to new heights and still be a starter, his best bet would be a move to Italy. I believe the football in the Italian league is more nuanced. I can see his type of profile suiting that football more. In conclusion, McAllister is not a mid-table midfielder. I think he's got enough intelligence in his game to progress into playing into the Champions League. Do I see him having that quality to be a starter midfielder for the very big clubs across Europe? No, I don't. And I think £70 million is a gross overvaluation of what McAllister brings to the table. I do think there's a danger of, if he's signed for a big fee, he ends up being that team's Donny van de Beek. I think he's a better player than a Van de Beek, but only just. I think he's a good squad player, and because he's proven himself in English football and he's proven himself in the World Cup, he's definitely a versatile enough player, an intelligent enough player to not be a complete liability at the highest level. There's definitely elements he can bring to the table, but I wouldn't want him as my main go-to starter centre mid for the next 5 years if I'm a United fan or if I'm a Liverpool fan. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Please like, share and subscribe, and see you guys again next time. Bye.